Admiral's log. The echoes of conflict have finally receded, and the weight of war has lifted from our shoulders. Peace has been restored, and as I stand upon the deck of the flagship, I cannot help but feel a profound sense of relief and gratitude. The year is 1937, and the United States Navy has emerged victorious from the crucible of battle with the Soviet Union. Our resilience and unity have carried us through the darkest of days, and now we look towards a future bathed in the glow of reconciliation. As we welcome the return of peace, I find myself already looking ahead to the years to come. With the lessons of the recent conflict etched in our collective memory, I am inspired to embark upon a new endeavor. The time has come to design a new battlecruiser class, one that will push the boundaries of naval warfare and exemplify the very essence of our vision for the United States Navy. Our commitment to innovation and progress remains undiminished, and with each new vessel we commission, we reinforce our commitment to shaping a future where peace and security reign supreme. Today's video is sponsored by the Block Zone. If you want to do something a little different than watch PC games, or play them yourself of course, you can for example build the Bismarck or the iOS, such as right here. I've done a couple of projects already. I really enjoy them. It's nice and relaxing for me, sometimes listening with a podcast in the back, sometimes having a video on. One of the projects that I have already made is the Humvee. You can see it over here. And Blockzone even sent me another project to try out, and that is a new car, which is very, very good news because my son loves this stuff. So here's my son and me building the car. This is Quinn. Yes, he's grown up potentially quite a bit since you last saw him. Really love to spend time with him like this, even though he's just putting his wheels on one single strip. He's still learning. Once you picked out a project, be sure to add code STEALTH as a discount code. It's going to give you a 10% discount, which can add up quite a bit. So, get to building. Blockzone link down below. Hey guys, Stealth here, and welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. It's the USA campaign, episode 4. The war is over. The United States and the Soviet Union have negotiated for peace, and after a 43-month war, which is just shy of 4 years, the outcome is a minor victory. Now, I am going to be able to take some ships off of them. I can do that up to a value of 210 million. This means any of their territories are off limits. So, seeing as I cannot really get any of their ships, because I don't want any of their ships, I'm just going to propose that they give me a bunch of money. Which isn't going to go very far, considering that I have a bunch of ships at sea. Most notably here, I was just preparing an invasion of North Sakhalin. I'm now minus 410 million every single month. So I'm going to have to shore up a lot of money from research. Probably I'm going to have to save on a lot. Look at that, minus 211 million. We're going to have to send the ships back into port and make sure that we don't spend as much. Now, the Italians seem to be eager to have potentially a fight. So I will give them one, if only to save my budget, but that doesn't really fit within the role of the character that I'm trying to roleplay as. Now this is, I believe, the only fleet that I currently have at sea. We got the New Hampshire at sea, in the Sea of Okhotsk. Let's see, how many ships do we have at sea? Many of them are sea controlling, some of them in Eastern North America. Oh, sorry, not sea controlling. Where are you people? Yeah, look at that. There's a whole load of them in the Sea of Okhotsk, South Pacific, Western North America. There's one being commissioned, and that's the Sovereign. That's the new flagship. She's going to be ready in 1 month. So that means I have a new flagship. The Enterprise is going to retire as flagship, but will still be active as a standard battleship. And I can still build a couple more battleships. Now, seeing as I have a whole fleet of battleships at this point, which is becoming a bit unaffordable, considering the vast money amounts that I'm paying for it, I am going to do something about the crew of some of these ships. I'm going to mothball a couple of my battleships to save on some money, because they tend to cost me 9 million a month, but if I just mothball them, it's only 2.8 million. So that's a way to save money, but it's definitely not a way to save $180 million worth. Maybe some more ships can be sent into the mothball fleet, but I don't want to go back into a situation where we basically don't have a whole lot of ships ready in case another war breaks out. So I don't mind mothballing a couple of my ships, but I'll definitely not mothball all of them. There we go, we're minus 111. So I can keep that up for a while, but still, we need to look at the world, and we need to look and decide whether I even need a fleet this big. Bringing all these ships back into port over here at the Sea of Volkotsk is going to definitely save me some money. Now, considering the state of affairs, it's 1937, I want to design a new battle cruiser, because the Sentinels, they're performing quite well, but as we've seen in the previous battle, the previous encounter that one of my battle cruisers had, is not as good as I would need it, because it's only packing those 12 inchers. Now, considering that the Sovereign is now the new flagship, I can go up to, let's say, 55,000 tons for a battle cruiser. And the fast battleship might come in handy. So let's say 55,000 tons of displacement, which is a big-ass battle cruiser. I'm going to set these... Oh, 55,000 tons. I'm going to set these at a really respectable speed. The modern towers, thankfully, don't take up a whole lot of room. Because in order to give this thing the firepower that it needs, I'm going to have to go with quite a substantial amount of turrets. Now, there have been requests in the comments going, hey, can you build ships, for example, as the French do them, focused on bow-heavy weapons? Sadly, with the US, that's not really feasible. For the simple reason that I can put this really far backwards, but you're still taking up a massive portion of the space here. And I think... Well, I mean, I'm willing to try it, but I don't think it'll work. Let's say I want to have a huge superimposed barbette, I want to have 15-inch guns, and I can only, keep in mind, use dual barrel. Oh, that is... doesn't even fit. Wing turrets? Like wing 15s? And maybe then add... What, like a med? Oh yeah, of course it's a wing. Yeah, so going full bow in, this could work. And it's going to give me 8 barrels. I'm going to have to be pretty damn bow in to make this work, though. Otherwise, these turrets will not be able to fire. So let's push these a bit more to the sides. Giving them sort of field of fire where they can turn inwards. If that makes sense. Or they can, like, rotate this way. Copy this. Pushing this closer is not exactly going to have the desired effect. See, this, as odd as it is actually better. For the simple reason that this thing can now rotate exactly there. So by doing that, I'll be able to give it a better field of fire. Now, if I can push the whole thing back a little bit more, I can potentially increase, or sorry, push it forward. I can increase that field of fire. No, not like that. Not like that. It's definitely an odd design, but it's one that just might work. The thing is, something gets behind me, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. Because whereas the French have those nice balconies where they can put a whole lot of firepower, I don't exactly have the room for that. So I can like throw in a double 8-incher, which is definitely not going to help my weight offset, and thereby getting a bit of protection on the stern, but it won't be nearly as much as I would actually like to have. And considering that every ship in my navy is mandated to have torpedo launchers, I think adding torps might be a better option. The aft weight offset is going to be pretty awful right now, but I expect, or plan rather, to armor up this ship a lot. And of course, we're going to be adding the 2-inch guns all over the place. Even there. That's off the ship, sir. That's just next to the ship. Sounds like a really bad place for a gun. As for protection, let's go with a full and citadel. We're gonna go... Actually... It's high resistance, but... No, wait a second. Where's my citadel? My citadel extends pretty far forward. I'm going to be likely bow in like so. So turret faces are going to have to require a lot of armor, but they're not that likely to hit this. I'm considering going with a turtleback armor. It doesn't give you more resistance. It's going to give you a bit more armor strength. Extra layers of sloped armor behind the main belt and above the citadel deflect shells that penetrate the hull. This might actually be beneficial for this type of design. Let's go with a very high-end anti-flash. After weight offset is now 53%. If I want to throw 10,000 tons of armor on this thing, I can. The real question is that going to be useful? Is that going to offset the weight? I'm not really sure. If I push this turret a bit farther forward, that shouldn't impact the ship that much. But doing this should impact the stability a fair bit. I can then potentially add like a barbette over there, giving her like a single... No, I'm going to need a bigger barbette. A single 8-inch on the stern, in case somebody does manage to get behind it. I don't want it to be that big. Does that fit? No. That does. Okay, perfect, because now I still have room for the torpedo launchers. There we go. That gun's fairly useless. Okay, so 36% aft weight offset. That is something I can actually fix. That's something I can actually make work. Because this thing is going to have a ton of armor on the bow, seeing as we're largely going to be facing bow in anyway. Let's give him a nose fuse HE, giving me pen of, let's say, 12,500 to 15,000 meter range of 28 inches, or 2.5 inch with HE. That's not enough. That's not enough. This is better. It's still going to give me a lot of punch with HE. It's going to reload in 56 seconds. And I'm thinking, if I elongate the barrels, I can shoot up potentially to like 35 kilometers, or something to that effect. 46? What? 48 with HE even? Reload's 91 seconds though. Give me 10%. Good lord. These things are no joke. Look at that range. It's only the Mark III. It's not even the Mark V. Okay. I'll definitely elongate the range on some of these. These can take 20%. Some parts are badly placed. Yeah, that's because these start interfering with each other. There we go. Okay. Armor time. We need a fairly substantial bow, but not a fairly substantial belt. So let's go with bow 10 inches. Holy moly, we're going to need more than that. 14 inches. Fore deck, 8 inches. Now she's getting a bit fore heavy. 6 inches on the stern. We're going to go with 4 inches on the superstructure, and now she's too heavy. 3 inches on the superstructure. Aft weight offset's now 3%. It's not as bad. Let's give them advanced radio, because she might at some point serve as the leader of a task force, and this will help. I do like the range, and with just 20 tons, I don't think I can do a whole lot beyond balancing the ship out a bit. So let's say give you a bit more aft belt in case I have to turn tail and run, which I rather don't expect to. Did I add a bit more to the fore belt? Maybe the fore deck? No, it's a bit heavy. There. Okay, I can work with this. The problem is, I kind of overlooked the armor on the turrets, and now the ship's a bit heavy. So let's say reduce the aft belt a little bit, and reduce fore deck a little bit. There we go. Okay, interesting design. Will she work? I'm not sure. Her speed is going to have to be her biggest asset to keep the ship safe. Because with these guns, I really need to dictate what sort of position I'm going to take. Otherwise, I'll not be able to get these guns to actually do much if the enemy is able to sneak up on me here. So her speed and maneuverability are going to have to work hand in hand with these guns in order to make the most use of this ship. Her turning circle likely isn't that good. Well, it's 568. It's not that bad. I had expected worse, actually. So yeah, this is pretty good. Pennsylvania-class battlecruiser, coming in at 55,000 tons. Build time, likely, yeah, 2 years. That's actually really quick. Really quick. Now, the timeline's progressing quite a bit. I've only really had one war, and now that peace has been returned to the Soviet Union, I'm at peace, yet it is 1937, early 1938. So I still need to get a few more battles in, or otherwise this is going to be a fairly boring campaign, wouldn't you say? So let's see who I can poke, who I can, let's say, influence to further stability in the world. Now, just as I had returned to a peaceful state against the Soviet Union, my ally, the British, declare war. Should we follow into a war that's not ours? Well, yes, because if the Soviets are considered to be a threat, then I am going to have to re-engage the Navy and potentially launch an invasion. Whether that will work in northern Russia, I'm not sure. I've never actually gone here with a big Navy. I'm probably going to have to send pretty much every single ship I have. Which definitely means I'm going to have to re-enable the ships that I have not yet enabled. So the mothballed ships. And it's going to take a few months to commission them. And then probably they won't be up to their normal status just yet. That's kind of the fate of having these things mothballed. But it's fine. I do have enough other active ships. Including, I suspect, the new Sovereign. She is housed in San Francisco. And I think I'm going to form up a fleet around her in San Francisco or somewhere over in the North Atlantic, perhaps. And we're going to plan a little visit to Russia. So, yeah, we're going to park right there. It's going to take me 2 turns to get there, which is really impressive considering the distance she has to transit. I do believe I have another sizable fleet over here. You can join. Bainbridge is still commissioning. It's one of the battleships that I had deactivated. The Illinois is currently getting commissioned, I suspect. Okay. Let me form up a fleet. And we're going to go to Russia. A little while later, the fleet is in position next to the port of Arkhangelsk. This means northern Russia is now under threat and the naval invasion has begun. Now, because there was a minimum requirement of 166,000 tons, and I'm coming in with 541,000, I have a 91% chance to succeed in this naval invasion. It's going to take 7 months, and the Marines ashore are going to have to fight a lot of Russian soldiers. But if I can get this, that'll be a massive blow to the Russian area. They will lose 2 major ports, they will lose a lot of oil production. It might open up the way to even assault northern Finland. It might open up the way to assault central Russia. It's going to be potentially a really short campaign for the Russians if they don't pull something together. But considering the state of affairs, considering the amount of losses that they've taken, and especially considering that they're getting hit everywhere with cruisers, destroyers, all of their merchantmen are getting attacked. So all of the Russian ships are in one way or another in a lot of trouble. Sadly, the offensive did not pan out, and the United States failed to gain control of northern Russia. Here's the deal though, nothing is stopping me from hitting them again. So, the fleet's in position. Where is Russia? Everybody keeps rebranding. We are going to just hit northern Russia again. If you don't succeed at once, just hit them again. They might have the occasional cruiser, they might even have a battleship in Arkhangelsk, but I really would not recommend the Russians to actually pull that ship out of there, lest they find it getting destroyed really, really swiftly. So, without any actual naval battles, let's continue. So, it looks we'll be getting some action after all. Destroyer Goff has detected an enemy convoy of the Russians. And this time, there is no escape for them. The Goth only comes with a couple of 5-inch guns. She has 6 of them. So she's gonna have to make the most of them in order to actually eliminate this Russian destroyer. This Russian destroyer is, of course, not gonna take that lying down. And we have seen these guys before. They have a lot of torpedo launchers. I don't exactly know what sort of torpedoes they launch. But last time around, I believe they were fairly detectable. So they shouldn't be that much of a concern. What I'm surprised about is how the enemy has lost line of sight to the Goth. But they do apparently keep shooting me, so I guess they didn't lose... Oh. They didn't lose me that much. That was the torpedo launch warning for the enemy ship. They only apparently carry 1 salvo, and there we go. We detect these at 5-kilometer range, so they're definitely not very sneaky. Big wide spread. Just a steady course, and we should be fine. I doubt that they are going to have as good of a time detecting my torpedoes, because my torps are extremely stealthy, and will be very light. Well, they will be very late to detect those. At this rate, though, the DD has taken on so much flooding that it's going to be slowed down so much that I rather doubt it'll actually take a hit at all. At least the Goth won't, because the enemy torpedoes have been detected. The closest one cleared the stern at about 800 meters out, so we should be fine. The enemy DD really did not put up much of a fight, and there she goes. So what does that mean for the convoy? It means death. The enemy convoy, not that far out, probably 19-20 clicks. The enemy destroyer raced in here in order to stop me. No joy. No joy. If at all possible, we're going to pick up a couple survivors from the Lieutenant Shestakov, because that's the honorable thing to do. We might have bested the enemy, but we are all enemies of the sea together. So let's not have these survivors go down without any reason. Do they have any lifeboats around? They do. Now, this is pure role-playing, of course. I'm going to tell the Goth to set a course for the lifeboats, although I wouldn't be surprised if they despawn. It's not like I can actually pick them up. It's just more that this is, you know, the right thing to do. Just imagine you're in one of these little lifeboats. And then the Goth just shows up. And goes, hey, would you like to join our ship? We might not be flying the right flag according to you, but at least it's dry, it's warm, and it's sheltered. Anyway, we're not here to strictly roleplay and pick up survivors. No sir, we're here to take out a convoy. And these convoy ships aren't necessarily harmless, because sometimes they pack guns, sometimes they pack torpedoes, sometimes both. I'm not seeing any guns and placements on this particular convoy ship, so I'm going to give them a bit of warning, going, guys, you can still disengage, you can still leave the ship, but your cargo cannot make it to its destination. It will aid the Russian war effort, and that is not something I'm willing to accept. So, I have no quarrel with you, personally. I have quarrel with your masters, and they cannot be allowed to continue with this war. They cannot be allowed to receive these shipments. And so, the Goth closes in, fires a few salvos, and the first Russian convoy ship has been eliminated. The second one is now receiving the warning shots. Leave this ship with your lives. Don't stay aboard. And that should have been enough warning for them. They had their opportunity. And now, seeing as I'm not seeing any lifeboats, we're going to have to pick up survivors yet again. So, convoy mission complete. Job done. Hopefully we're able to pick up some Russian survivors and maybe convince them to join our side. Of course, roleplay, because that doesn't actually happen. I lost 3 crew members, they lost 500. Hopefully we were able to save a few of them. Now this is particularly odd. Norway's new leader, Norway, was found to support armed terrorists who disrupt the region trade networks of the United States. Would you like to invade Norway? I think it's a bit odd that Norway would support armed terrorism against the United States. And I don't exactly have 83,000 tons of warship lying around at the moment, so no. I'm not that eager to support this invading force. That's a bit weird. Now, my success chance here is still 88%, so with any luck, by August 1939, I will have conquered the northern Russian sector. This is gonna it's gonna be a really big blow to the Russians. It's gonna cost them a lot of income. It's going to deprive them of a lot of oil and 2 important shipyards. So hopefully, this is going to expedite the war's end. Because I don't want to fight just the Russians. I want to fight potentially a little more than just the Russians. Especially since, well, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the patch, maybe it's the game, maybe it's the mod that I had installed. Whatever it is, the AI does not seem to have a whole lot of ships. It's a far cry from what I used to have with these massive, long battles that could last for like 90 minutes. And it was just rows upon rows upon rows of ships. Now, that wasn't exactly an ideal way to play the game, but at least it felt like we were operating with larger navies instead of just 20, 30 ships. As opposed to what I'm doing right now, which is 74 ships, which for my navy is just fairly large. Alliance, no. I gained control of northern Russia. Would you look at that? So, Russia, how many provinces do you have left? Because right now, it's probably not going to be that many. 24 provinces? Really? 24? Oh, they got all of these things. Yeah, I'm never going to be able to get to those. I do believe that if a nation has no ports left, it's essentially going to be defeated. So, if I'm able to also... No, actually, I don't need to take Siberian Russia because there's no ports. I already have Eastern Siberia. I am going to have to get all the way into the Black Sea because they got quite a few ports here. Let's go sightseeing, shall we? Oh, wow, there's a DD coming home. Let's go sightseeing. We're going to go not to Norway, although that would have been funny. We're going to go to Lithuania. And I'm going to send half the fleet there, and the other half of the fleet is going to make its way over to Latvia to liberate those. You can always count on the US to liberate a few more territories. So, a few short battles, but like I said, I'm hoping to do a bit more actual fighting, larger scale in future episodes. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what your thoughts are down below, and I'll see you soon for more Dreadnoughts.